The Grade 1 Diana, dating back to 1939. This is now where filly and mare turf champions meet. Where? It's Saratoga. Opening weekend, 1.125 miles on the inner turf. Chad Brown, he has been king of this race in the last 10 runnings, winning 8 of those races. Is the king gonna get dethroned this year? She Feels Pretty and Be Your Best has something to say. Who's going to be their best on Saturday? Facts and figures are going to give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra. And yes, it is Christmas in July for horse players because Saratoga is starting. In this video, we're going through all 6 contenders and the angles of the Grade 1 Diana. It is opening weekend and we're going to have some fun. But first, we had a little fun last week with the Suburban Stakes. I said drop your 2-horse exacta box in the comments below, and if you got it right, I was going to shout you out in this video. Well, I had one person tell me Phileas Fogg and Antiquarian, they were going to be 1 and 2. So congrats, Oliver Cooper, G5J, you are the winner from last week. Let's keep it going. This is so much fun. At the end of this video, drop your 2-horse exacta box for the Grade 1 Diana. And don't worry if somebody takes your picks. I'm going to shout out everybody who gets it right. So have a little bit of fun. Wait to the end. Drop your 2-horse exacta box in the comments below. And before I get started on the Grade 1 Diana, I want to highlight one other subscriber. They have been with me since the very beginning, and I want to highlight them because 1, they've encouraged me to keep going, and 2, they give out winners left and right on this channel. Watch for their comments. So hi, INNOPVA9973. I just wanted to say thank you so much for always being there for me and giving out some winners. Now let's get on to the Grade 1 Diana. Of course, I have some angles for you. I looked back at the last 25 runnings of the Grade 1 Diana and came up with 5 angles. Now, many of these horses, they click off these angles, so maybe they won't be so useful. But if you're playing Saratoga this summer, inner turf races, you may be able to apply these angles, so I still want to give them to you. Now, the first is Grade 1 Diana specifically. I already mentioned it at the start. Chad Brown, he is king. Go back the last 10 consecutive races, he's won 8 of them. Does that mean he can't lose this race and you're only going to look at 2 horses? Absolutely not. We've got some really good contenders in this race. Second, Grade 1 form leading into this race is key. 14 out of the last 25 winners were in a Grade 1 race and hit the board last time out. Also, the rest of the 25 were either G2 or G3. So you're looking at horses that are competing at that upper level and hitting the board. Third, tactical speed versus turn of foot. These races on the inner turf, they're won by 2 types of horses. Those that have tactical speed, so they stay up close to the leader and can take control at the end, or they have that late burst turn of foot. And I'm not talking a closer. I'm not talking a closer that needs speed to run into. They just have that turn of foot. You also want to look for consistency at the longer distances on the turf. Being on the board in those longer distances is going to be key. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit more about the inner turf. Adaptability to the inner turf is going to be important for you to watch. Let's talk about the inner turf because that can be tricky with Saratoga. You've got very tight turns and a shorter home stretch. So what does that mean for you? Well, horses that are caught wide going around the turns, they can lose momentum and positioning. So you want to look at horses that can get themselves well positioned going into the turns. Those inner trips, they are critical, or horses that have tactical speed. And closers, they can get compromised if they're not well positioned going in to that last turn. Early positioning also matters. Horses that can get up to that lead pack or lead are going to be well advantaged, or if they could get to the hedge, that inside trip again is critical. If you're looking at horses in post positions like 7, 8, or 9, make sure they have that early speed or can get over very easily to get that inner trip. And also pay attention to the ground. Firm ground favors speed. Softer ground can favor closers. And also remember, horses may favor softer ground over firmer ground or vice versa. And we're going to look at a few of those horses in this video. The number 1 horse is She Feels Pretty, trained by Cherie DeVaux. She'll be ridden by Johnny Velasquez, and together they have a 29% win rate. Now, Johnny V, he's been on her for most of her starts. She's a 4-year-old. That means she's got a lot of upside, but boy, she also has a ton of talent already. 10 starts, 7 wins. That means 70% of the time, she's been in the winner's circle. 1 place in 2 shows, and that means 100% of the time, she's been on the board. 8 of her starts, graded stakes races, and 6 G1. Her last 4 races, she was a winner, and 3 were G1. The QE2 Cup at Keeneland, the American Oaks at Santa Anita, and the New York Stakes, where? Here at Saratoga in June, but on the main turf, not the inner turf. Now what this means is she checks off one of our angles, proven G1 form. Let's look at a couple of her races. In the QE2 Cup at Keeneland in October, this distance, she was the 3-2 favorite. She came out of post position 3. Now she got out of the gate really well. She got in a stalking position on the rail. She was like 3rd. And going around the turn, boom, takes aim at the leader and wins. And not only wins by 6 lengths, 100 Beyer. Then in December, she goes to the G1 American Oaks at Santa Anita, 1 1/4 with that downhill turf. In that race, she bobbles at the start. She got bumped. She got bunched up with a bunch of other horses, but then she gets herself in really good stalking position, and again, around the turn, just explodes and dominates the race, winning by 2 lengths with a 99 Beyer. She then gets 127 days of rest. She comes back in the G3 Modesty at Churchill Downs on Oaks Day. Again, this distance, 1 1/8. She stalks, she pounces, she wins by 2 1/4 lengths with a 96 Beyer. The last time we saw her was here at Saratoga in June for Belmont weekend. It's the New York Stakes, 1 3/16. And on that day, it was a yielding track. She's coming out of post position 8. She does what she always does. She gets in that really good stalking position like 3rd, and then going around the turn, boom, makes her signature move. But this time, she gets a challenge. 17-1 Beach Bomb. Duels going down the lane, but she wins by 1/2 length and another triple-digit Beyer of 100. So we know she's got the grade 1 form. She's been winning on the turf at the longer distances, and she's been winning on firm turf, winning on yielding turf, and has 2 wins on good turf. We know she also has signature tactical speed, but how does she do on the inner turf? Does she have that adaptability? Her 1 race on the inner turf at Saratoga was the G2 Lake Placid last year, 1 1/16. Now that was good turf that day. She did what she always does. She gets in that really good stalking position, but going around the turn, she had to go 3 wide. And Gray Osh, who is on the inside. He got the lead and the win. And that proves going wide around those turns can compromise your chances. I wouldn't hold this against her though. I don't know if you're going to see her go wide again. Also, you know who else she beat that day? One of Chad Brown's favorites in this race, the number 5 dynamic pricing. She's ticking off all the angles except for having a trainer named Chad Brown. Is the king going to get dethroned? Is the queen of the Diana, Cherie DeVaux, going to rule? We'll find out on Saturday. All in all, major contender for this race. The number 2 horse is Choisya, trained by Simon Crisford and will be ridden by Luis Saez. This is a 5-year-old with 21 starts, 8 wins, and 5 places. Now this horse comes from Great Britain and has only had 2 races in the States. 6 of her races were graded stakes races and 3 were wins, including the G1 Jenny Wiley at Keeneland. The other 2 were in Maidan, going 1 mile and 1 mile and an eighth, so this distance. But all 3, good surfaces. Now, she does have a couple wins on a firm turf surface, just not graded stakes wins. Let's talk about Choisya's breakout win in the G1 Jenny Wiley, going 1 mile and 1/16 at Keeneland on a good surface. Now in that race, she broke really well. She gets over to the rail. She stays in a stalking position, like around 3rd, just like what we see with She Feels Pretty. Now Choisya never gets off of the rail. Even around the turns, she stays close to the rail. And how does she win? She comes up on that inside, a perfect trip on the rail in a 101 buyer. Now that is the highest buyer out of all of our contenders in this race. But again, she got that perfect trip on the rail. Next stop is the Just a Game Stakes, and that is a key prep race for the Diana. A mile distance at Saratoga inner turf, and that day it was yielding turf. She starts from post position 9. Not ideal at all. She has to go wide. Not ideal. She gets up to 2nd going around the turn, but she falls back and she finishes 7th, tiring, and earns a 76 buyer. Looking at her compared to the angles, she's got the turf, she's got the consistency, and she's got the stalking style, but there are a couple things I don't like. She didn't finish on the board in her last race, and I do feel she got that perfect trip in the Jenny Wiley. So for me, personally, she's not going to be a contender. The number 3 horse is Lady Claypoole, trained by Richard Baltus. She is our West Coast invader. She'll be ridden by Joel Rosario, a 5-year-old with 20 starts, 4 wins, 3 places, and 2 shows. Not a very classy horse, only 2 graded stakes entries, but was in the exacta for both. We've seen Lady Claypoole 4 times this year, all at Santa Anita, and she's run this distance 3 times and one other race, a longer distance at 1.25 miles. In January, she was in a $61,000 allowance race, firm surface, going this distance. Now, she gets out of the gate, she's kind of mid-pack, 3.5 lengths from the leader at the half pole, and going around the turn, she has that burst and gets the win with an 83 buyer. In February, it's like a rinse and repeat. Now she's in a $63,000 allowance race, 1.125 miles, firm turf. Gets out of the gate, mid-pack, about 3.25 lengths from the leader, has that surge at the end, wins with another 83 buyer. In March, she ups her game going into a G3 race, 1.25 mile distance, and this time it's a good surface. She comes out of the gate. She's way in the back. She is 7 lengths off of the leader. Part of the race, she's last, but she's hugging the rail. And going around that turn, she has a late surge. She goes really wide and she stuns. 11-1, winning by 2 to 2.5 lengths and earning a 93 buyer. She ups her game again going into the G1 Gamely, 1.125 miles at Santa Anita. She's coming out of post position 1. She gets brushed at the start. She is 8 lengths off of the leader on the rail. Going around the turn, you see that signature turn of foot, that late burst. Now, she was only able to get up to second, but she ran her heart out. Be Her Best, the number 6 horse in that race, was dominant that day, but you have to give it to her, coming in only 2 to 3 lengths from the leader and earning a 90 buyer. How does she do versus the angles? Well, she's got the G1 form. She came out of a G1 race and finished second. She's got the consistency of the turf and the longer distances, and has that big turn of foot, burst of speed that we like to see if she's not tactical. But there's a couple things we need to take note of. One, her best buyer is a 93, and that is the lowest among the contenders today. She really will need to up her game. And also, will the downhill at Santa Anita translate to the inner turf at Saratoga? She's been wide on her turns. She's going to need to watch that or she will be compromised. She's not one of my leading contenders for this race, me personally, but I will note she's been outrunning her odds. Before we move on, if you've been finding this information useful, hit like and hit subscribe. I'm here all summer long, 1 race a week for Saratoga. And don't forget, we're doing that contest. Put your 2-horse exacta box for the Diana in the comments below, and if you get it right, I will shout you out on the next video. Next up, drum roll please. One of Chad Brown's runners in this race is the number 4 horse, Excellent Truth, who'll be ridden by Flavian Pratt. Now this is a 5-year-old, 13 starts, 4 wins, 5 places, and 1 show, and what that means is 70% of the time in the exacta. Excellent Truth is an Ireland horse who's been running mostly in France. She's had 2 races in the States. Now 6 of the 13 races, graded stakes entries with 4 places, 1 win, and 1 6th place finish. Now I just want to point this out and take it for what it's worth because it's a sample of 1. But all of Excellent Truth's starts have been on either soft, yielding, or good turf. Only 1 was on the firm. And in that 1, it was the G1 Longchamps Prix de l'Opera in 2023. She ran 6th. Was it the firm turf? Or was it the fact that she was 33-1 that day and actually running 6th, she outran her odds? It's a sample of 1 and something for you to take note, especially if we have either yielding soft or good ground on Saturday. Let's look at her 2 runnings in the States. Now, Pratt was aboard on her for both of those runnings. One was the G1 Jenny Wiley and the other was the Just a Game Stakes. Now, both of these are excellent prep races for this race. And in both of those races, she was always the bridesmaid and never the bride. She came in 2nd in both of those runnings. In the G1 Jenny Wiley going 1.16 miles at Keeneland on a good surface, she came out of post position 1. Now, she got to the rail. She got in really good position. She was about 3.5 lengths behind the leader at the half pole. The opening was very sharp. It was under 23 seconds. And she stayed and hugged that rail and came up the rail to earn 2nd with a big burst at the end and a 100 buyer. Next is the Just a Game Stakes, a major prep race for this race, going 1 mile here at Saratoga on the inner turf. And remember, it was a yielding surface that day. She's in post position 8 in a field of 9. Not ideal, but Pratt is a masterful jockey. To make sure she doesn't get hung wide, he quickly gets over to the rail. She's like 5th or 6th for most of the race, and about to go around the final turn, her and her stablemate, Dynamic Pricing, also in this race, they make a move together. Now she's a bit wider than Dynamic Pricing. She has that turn of foot, but Dynamic Pricing had the edge, and she loses by 3/4 of a length, but earns a 99 buyer. Excellent Truth checks off all the angles. Chad Brown? Check. G1 form? Check. Turf and consistency? Check, check. And on the inner turf at Saratoga, she went wide and she still came in second. So adaptable to the inner turf, check. What gives me pause is her only graded stakes win was in 2023, and it was a G3 race. And also, almost all of her races have not been on firm turf. If the turf is off on Saturday, if you see soft, good, or yielding, I would definitely upgrade her. And I don't know about you, but whenever I think I know which Chad Brown is going to win, it's usually the other horse. So for me, personally, Excellent Truth has to stay a top contender for this race. Now we have the other Chad Brown horse, Dynamic Pricing, the horse that beat Excellent Truth in the Just a Game Stakes. The number 5 horse, Dynamic Pricing, will be ridden by Dylan Davis. She's a 4-year-old, and what that means is she's got a lot of upside. 9 starts, 4 wins, and 3 shows. And of the 9 starts, very classy, 7 are graded stakes races with 3 wins and 2 shows. Let's look at some of her graded stakes races. As a 3-year-old, she was in the G3 Florida Oaks and she threw in a clunker. She finishes 7th. Then she goes to the G2 Edgewood, a 1.16 at Churchill Downs on a yielding track, and wins by a half a length. She then goes to the G1 Belmont Oaks, a 1.316, and again, clunker. And you know who comes in ahead of her? The number 1 horse in this race, She Feels Pretty. She Feels Pretty finished 3rd, and Dynamic Pricing 7th. Then they meet up again in the G2 Lake Placid here at Saratoga. And again, She Feels Pretty, she bests Dynamic Pricing. She Feels Pretty comes in 2nd, and Dynamic Pricing comes in 3rd. She starts off her 5-year-old season in a G3 race at Belmont at Aqueduct in May, going a 1.16 on firm ground. She comes out of the gate. She's in the back of the pack on the rail, and going around the turn, it looked like she was actually going to fall back, but she accelerates and she goes 9 to 10 wide and just rolls down the stretch and wins the race with a 93 buyer. Next, it's the Just a Game Stakes, a mile here at Saratoga on the inner turf, yielding that day. Remember, that is a key prep race. Now, unlike her stablemate, Excellent Truth, she doesn't have to start in the outermost position. Oh no, she's starting from post position 1. Again, she's toward the back. She's on the rail. When she goes to make her signature move, she's got to go 5 wide. But remember, Excellent Truth was even wider. And again, she rolls down the stretch and gets the win and her first triple-digit buyer of 100. Like Excellent Truth, she is checking off all the angles. G1 form, turf and consistency, big burst of speed at the end. She's been on the inner turf twice and has won one of those races. She's got Chad Brown, she's got Dylan Davis who knows her, and she's a 4-year-old with upside. But She Feels Pretty has bested her twice. So, Dynamic Pricing, She Feels Pretty, someone else who is going to the winner's circle on Saturday. And finally, we have the number 6 horse, Be Your Best, trained by Safi Joseph Jr., will be ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr., and together they have a 27% win rate. This horse is a 5-year-old, 20 starts, 6 wins, 3 places, and 2 shows. This is a very classy horse. 17 out of the 20 starts have been in graded stakes races. Now, of the 6 wins, 4 have been in her last 5 races. She has been on a winning streak outside of the Jenny Wiley. And that winning streak really began when Safi Joseph Jr. began training her. I also want to point out that all of her wins, firm turf. How does she do on a yielding, soft, or good turf surface? Well, she did have a win, but it was one of her very first races. Outside of that, her best finish was 3rd. Let's look at her 2025 races. In January, she was in the G3 Pegasus Cup Filly and Mare Turf Invitational, a mile and a 16th at Gulfstream. She gets out of the gate. She's in a great stalking position in 2nd. Around the turn, she challenges the leader, and she wins by a neck and gets her best buyer of a 98. Then in April, she goes to the Jenny Wiley at Keeneland, a mile and a 16th on a good surface. She breaks alertly. She gets up to 2nd. She's stalking. She takes a challenge at the leader, Kehoe Beach, but unfortunately, she fades back to 8th, and she finishes 8th with a 91 buyer. Now in that race, the number 2 horse in this race, Choisya, and the number 4 horse, Excellent Truth, came in 1 and 2. The last time we saw her was Santa Anita, the G1 Gamely Stakes. This distance. Now, she dominated in that race. Irad got her right to the lead. She went gate to wire winner by 2 lengths, and she earned a 95 buyer. So she's got that G1 proven experience. We know she's got consistency on the turf and at the longer distances, and she's got really good early speed, and we like to see that. How is she going to do on the inner turf? Well, she's been on the inner turf 3 times at Saratoga. The first 2 times were her very first 2 races, and she won both of those races by 3 lengths. The other time, it was a mile and 3/8 allowance race, and she had to go really wide and came in 3rd. We know Be Your Best is going to get to the lead. Is she going to keep that lead? Will she go gate to wire? Or is she going to get swallowed up by She Feels Pretty, Excellent Truth, or Dynamic Pricing? I really feel, for me, she is a top contender in this race. Now it's your turn. Drop me a comment below. And not just any comment, give me your 2 horse exacta box. You get it right, I will shout you out on the next video. Hit like and hit subscribe. I'm back at Saratoga, 1 race a week. We're gonna make sure you have all the information you need to sashay away with your money. Until next time, cheers.